Okay. Once you get Android Studio up and running, start a new Android Studio project. We're just testing, so you can call it whatever you want. Go ahead and choose all the defaults we've been choosing. And then click the activity underscore main.xml once you get it up. We're going to take a look at two items today, how to do methods, functions, procedures, subroutines called different things in different languages, but same idea in all of them. And although some have some interesting variations. And then we'll also take a look at some basic error checking. And that's just where we're checking it. And then we'll go into next week and exception handling. Okay, so delete your hello world text is there. And we're going to drop on two texts, edit texts, make them numbers. We'll drop on a button then. And we'll drop on another edit text. Again, make it a number. And go ahead and infer constraints. Now the button we can change to say something else. We can say it change it to say add. This first edit text, I'm going to rename it. Add underscore num1. And go ahead and say yes. It asks you to update references. Add num2. Say yes. And this will be our add sum. We're going back to our adding two numbers together, and then we're going to expand upon that, looking at those two items. Very good so far? Okay. So I go to main activity.java. And there it is. Okay. Then I'm going to, before the last curly bracket, I'm going to put public void button underscore click view v. And again, you can do an alt enter to get rid of that red and have it go ahead and import that package automatically for the view. And then we'll have edit text, and I call it in1 is equal to edit text, find view by ID, r.id dot ed num1. Again, alt enter will go ahead and import the code or put the import statement, I should say, up top for the edit text. And then we'll do the same thing for add num2 and add sum. Now we're going to declare some integers. And we'll call it num1, num2, and the sum. That's curious. Why's it got a green squiggly under the sum? Variable sum is never used, but I haven't used num1 and num2 either. So why aren't you having a red squiggly under there? Oh, it's just a bug with software. If you put your mouse over it, it does say that. Haven't used those also. Now we'll say num1 is equal to integer.parse int for in1.getText. It doesn't like something. What if I forgot? ToString. I'll wake up here shortly. Num2 is equal to integer.parse int in2.getText ToString. Then we'll say the sum is equal to num1 plus num2. And then we do in3.setText. And we do integer.toString of the sum. Let everybody get caught up there. Okay, so then if I run it, and click OK.
There we go. Oh, I didn't do the on click.
Oh, the on click. I keep forgetting that.
Yeah.
Okay, let me come over here then and do my unclick. I swear I forget that 90% of the time. Yeah, button click. There we go.
Okay. It is.
Hmm.
These only have 16.
I'll go back here in a second. Okay, so mine's working. There you go. Did you find it? No.
One, two, three, text. What kind of error did it say? Why? That's bizarre. Go ahead and try that. I don't know.
Okay, so we got our app created and running. I come over to your app, and up here at the 3, get rid of that number, and then click Add. It says testing this has stopped. Open app again. If I click Add, just keeps telling me it's not working. So I'll open app again. We don't have any error checking in there. If we want them to input numbers, they should actually put a number in here, right? Well, let's see how we can do that. Now, if we declare a string, S1 and S2, then you can say S1 is equal to n1.getText.toString. S2 is equal to n2.getText.toString. So we're not converting it directly to an integer. We're first temporarily putting in the string. Now, string is where you have alphanumeric characters. You can have a space. You could have a empty string. You could have letters, numbers, whatever. So that's a string. Now, let me see if I can find this. I definitely can search Java, but if I go to Android Studio, Java reference, here's the Java language reference. It's also developers guides here, but I'll go here. So in some cases, you can find what you're searching for here.
How does it even happen?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Did it tip over?
Yeah. I leaned back like this and it's very cocked up. I want to not do that.
That's interesting.
I literally just leaned back like this and whoop. I'm so tired.
I may have to mention that to him.
Yeah.
That's kind of an issue if you have a student fall over and smack their head on something behind them and not have to call 911.
Yeah. Like, okay. I did not expect it to happen. No, it's like I pushed back like this and then I leaned back and
Interesting. Okay. So if I go to Java reference and we just type in string to see if we can find it fairly fast. This shows you bring in a string. You declare it with a string like this. There's a lot of functions you can do with a string. You see there's a substring you can do. Substring returns part of a string. Oh, here they are. Tons of functions you can, methods you can do with a string. Usually they have some kind of trim capability on here. Split. We're going to look at a lot of these because string processing is kind of a big thing. Okay. Now, some programming languages allow you to do a comparison in this manner. Some you have to actually use the string values are compared using equals equals, not the equals beginning parentheses, closing parentheses. Some of these you have to use a function within your string. Let me see. So if S1 is blank, then I'm going to say n1.setText must not be blank. It's probably not going to be big enough to handle that. Now over here, let me see if I can quickly find it. Control F. Here's the equals, where you're checking to see if it's equal to something. Compares the string to the specified object. And I always have to play with this myself because I never, when I'm working this, sometimes I forget which one to use. They don't got an example. Oh, here it is. No example, I guess. But you can do an equals. Let's just see if the equals works. Android Studio implies it will. So we run that and say, okay. and put a number in your second blank, and then click your add. Didn't like something about that. Oh, because I put that in there, but then what did I do down here? I went ahead and assigned it anyway. So comment out that line. And in the process, you'll probably have to comment out some other lines. Then we'll run it. Okay, I put a number in the second blank. I'll click add. Didn't blow up, but didn't put anything there, did it? So the question is, what is in S1? Well, let me come up here and say in1 dot set text, and I'll put an asterisk plus S1 plus an asterisk. We might have to use the dot equals. And run that. I'll put a 3 here with my add. Okay, so my equals isn't working, is it? So let's come here and I'm going to say S1 is equal to S1 dot. Now this pops up with all those functions that I just talked about over the other place. And you notice that there's a trim feature here. So I'm going to do an S1 equals S1 dot trim. And now we'll see if it's the equals equals it doesn't like, or if it's we have to actually put the dot equals on it. Okay, so put a 3 here, click that. Okay, it doesn't like the equals equals, does it? So let me come down here. It's bizarre because it said that the equals equals is okay. And let's try this. Now if I put 3 in here, now it's working, is it? Must not be blank.
It's not working for me. My email won't pop up. Well, pop up, but it won't show the app button. Can't close off it either. Close. One way of doing is task manager. No, don't call it. Type here. Type it. Yes.
Now once you get back to Android Studio, there's under Tools, there's the Avd Manager, and you can do a cold boot on the emulator.
Drop down and go to
Go into Tools, Avd Manager. Now, once you go in there, this is not for everybody. Over here on the right-hand side, if you do drop down, there's a cold boot now. So if your emulator locks up, that's how you restart it. Now you can also power it off if the emulator comes up, but if it just froze up completely, that cold boot is your best option. I think if you wipe the data, it's like starting like from factory defaults even, which is different than cold boot. Cold boot means anything that you installed on there app-wise is still there. It does make me wonder if you go and look at your apps in that emulator, if you see every one of those ones you've just. Is it working now?
Yeah.
Now with strings, I always have to play with this. I know what the different functions do. The trim, what this does is it trims spaces at the beginning and at the end. So if you were to run this and do space, then it would get rid of those spaces. If you do 3 space, well, it would get rid of that space at the end. That's usually a good idea because people will put spaces at the end and cause you headaches in a lot of cases. This equals does exactly what you think it does. It checks to see if it's equal to something. I'm surprised the equals didn't work since it said it would. Oh well. Now, if it's blank, then I want to say it must not be blank. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and convert the number. So num1 is equal to integer. You could also edit copy that line down below. in1.getText .toString. Again, if you have one line of code, you don't need the curly braces around it, but they don't hurt anything. It sets you up for the future so you can add whatever you want. Now I want to have a separate if statement to check the second blank to see if it's blank, or second text, edit text to see if it's blank. So I'll say if s2.equals, let's try it again. S2 equals, scroll up, should be the same as this code. Well, I already did S2. We brought in a string up here. So now I need to just do a trim on it. S2 is equal to S2.trim. Again, that gets rid of any extra spaces somebody may have put into it. And I'm going to check if S2.equals a blank string, empty string. Then I'll say in2.setText must not be blank. Else, I'll convert it. num2 is equal to integer dot parseInt into dot getText dot toString. You could also at that point, instead of actually retrieving it again from the app, you could simply retrieve it from your S2, the string we brought it in as. Okay, so now I'm going to get rid of some of this. Down here, I get rid of those two. I can uncomment the sum because it should work now. Now you're going to see that it comes up with little red squigglies. Reason why is we're now setting num1 and num2 inside an if-else structure. So it does not know if this is valid. So where would I want to put these two right here at these two lines? In the where? Yeah, and probably not in the error part, right?
Yeah.
I'd want to put it here. There's different ways of handling that. I'm going to move this for this one right there. And then I'm going to copy it. Actually, that might be good there. Now we're going to talk about some issues with how we have this and how we need to redo it. First one is, it thinks num1 may not be initialized. So, up here at the very top, where I declare them, I could just start off by saying num1 is equal to 0 and num2 is equal to 0. Now you're going to see that little red squiggly's gone down here. We'll give you a chance to get all that typed up if you're typing it in.
Couldn't we just declare num1 and num2 up at the top and then just leave the sum equals num1 plus num2 on the outside of the else?
No, because what happens if it's they put blanks in? How do you handle that?
It wouldn't set
It wouldn't set num1 and num2. There's different ways you can go about it. Like you can have a kind of a nested if else, which we really haven't talked about nested very much yet. But if num1's okay, then check to see if num2's okay. So it all be contained within that one if else statement. Another way you could do it, and it's kind of up to you, you could have like a flag, where you're checking if data entry is okay. And so then you set it to not be okay anytime there's an issue. And then down at the very bottom, if you say everything's okay, then I'm going to go ahead and add these two numbers together. Okay, so if I run that now, let's see if I got the code somewhat right. First off, let's just put the 3 and 4 in there. Just check our standard. That's not good. Something's not working, is it?
Mine just says has stopped.
Yeah, that's what mine says. So let's go back to our code. Let's see what I've overlooked. Wish you wouldn't tell me there's a typo. Num1, num2 we declared as integer. They're equals 0 here. We've brought in our strings. And I definitely don't need to do that anymore, do I? Okay. Actually, that'll probably screw it up right there. Let's see if that's what screwed it up. Okay. That was for testing purposes, and I didn't remove it. I wish the emulator would pop up. Because that's what Xcode does. I keep waiting for it to pop up. 3, 4, click add. It's working now, isn't it?
Um,
Isn't? Let me go back to the code so you can see what I changed.
If it works.
Yours works? I got rid of that S1 equals asterisk or S.
okay, I did too.
Did you?
Yeah, that's one. Oh, I don't have the S2 equals N2 dot.
Oh, okay. Is yours working okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll see if that works. Mine still says com.android.phone stop. Like over everything else.
Oh, select code. Okay, M1 and 2, bring M1 up to, okay. String, S1 is equal to that, S2 is equal to that. That mouse with a little light bulb. What does that say?
Oh, click or press Alt-Enter.
Why is it doing that? Alt-Enter. Well, it's never used. Okay, so it says it's never used. So if you scroll down, well, you got S2 is equal to S2 dot trim.
I need it to be done here.
Let me scroll down in the code so you can see. Here's what that code should look like. If I had to guess, you probably down here referring to N1 or S1 or something like that.
N2 dot. Oh, no, I have the same thing.
Do you have the same thing? N1, N2, N3. Okay, get those declared. Typo. See, the value 0 sign is never used. So num2 says never used. This should apply to this.
I remember someone used to be email. That was the thing.
Huh. Really looks okay. 0.7.
You keep saying pixel launcher.
Oh, that'll work.
It works now?
I don't know what that pixel launcher was.
I have no clue.
If it keeps having troubles, you might want to do a cold boot.
Okay. What does that do?
It's kind of like you're powering off your cell phone and booting it up from scratch.
Okay.
Then the where you wipe it clean is where you're doing like a factory reset.
Okay. Do it have the option to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you do tools, Avd Manager, then you highlight whichever one you do this drop down. Cold boot just is like you're shutting your phone completely off and turn it back on, which in theory should be the same as the power button on the emulator, but sometimes the emulator just seems to hang up. And then if you do the wipe data, that's kind of like a factory reset. Um, and then if nothing else works, you delete it and you add it back in. And just as long as you add the same, the one you set up the first time, it shouldn't have to download everything. I've never had to actually delete it. Usually cold boot fixes all of it. Okay, so now I got my app running. Let's try different things. Let's blank out to 3. So we don't have nothing for the 3 and click the add. It says must not be blank, but look what it did. It put a 4 down here, didn't it? Do we want it to do that? Let's check that again. Put 3 there, 7. So blank that out, puts a 4. Maybe you don't want, when you put this must not be blank, maybe you want this to say error. In case you're wondering what it's doing, remember how we set it up to 0 initially? So it's doing 0 plus 4 when it errors out. So if I put 3 here and blank this one out, probably it'll say what? 3? Or it could say 4. That's interesting. I would have expected 4. But anyway, obviously this part's working, but we want maybe some kind of check on this. The very easiest way to do this is you can come up here and you can create a new variable. And you could make it a string if you want. Make it yes or no if everything's okay. Or you can do Boolean. I'm going to do a string since we haven't worked a whole lot with Boolean. And I'll say, is it okay? Now, is it okay initially is going to equal to, let me see, is it okay? It's okay to begin with. So we'll say yes. If you made it Boolean, you set it equal to true. We're going to use a lot more Booleans when we get into more in-depth exception handling. Then down here where we encountered an error, is it okay is going to equal to no. It's not okay. They put nothing in for the first blank. Down here, this is our other error conditioning. Is it okay is going to equal to no. No, it's not okay. They put blank in again. So then down here, I can just do my if statement, and I can say, okay, if it is it okay is equal to yes, except for I got to do an equals. Keep forgetting that. Equals yes. Now this is where I can now do my sum. So I'll move that down here, and I get rid of the one that's, do I have one up there? I don't have one up there. Never mind. Does that kind of make sense what we're doing there? It's kind of, sort of. Okay, so now if we run this, by the way, proper programming says you shouldn't use yeses and nos like that. Boolean takes up less space, and considering a cell phone that won't necessarily have an unlimited amount of memory, Boolean's better choice. But we're just learning programming, so we're happy with that. Okay, I put 3 and 4 in here, gives us 7. Okay, that still works. You want to make sure you haven't broke what was working before. Okay, now blank that out. Now I click the add. And I checked to see if it was okay. But if it wasn't okay, I didn't do anything, did I? Okay, so back to the drawing board here. I'm going to come down here to my else. Now I'll do n3.setText. What do you want it to say if it's something's wrong?
Error 404.
Error 404 x31. Some of those real useful error messages you see pop up every now and then.
So one of your websites.
I always find it funny whenever you see those error messages like that. You're sitting there. Why don't they put something meaningful on the screen?
Error 404 not found.
Okay, so let's go look see what that does. Again, we're going to check it to make sure we didn't break our original functionality. So put 3 and 4 in here. That's working. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the 3 or 4, I guess. Click add. That's working. If I come here and get rid of the 3, but here I'm going to... I can't delete this work like normal everywhere. Get rid of that. Click add. Must not be blank. Okay, everything appears working now, doesn't it?
Nope. Yeah, mine does. I was like, oh.
Is it working? Okay. So that's a very basic error checking. Now there's an issue though. If I come back here, 3 plus 4 works. Backspace. Put 4 there, that works, doesn't it? If I come up here and put 3 point... Oh, it won't even let me. I guess I'll have to do a different blank for that. I was trying to put a decimal.
But then have to be a double, wouldn't it?
It'd have to be a double. But since we define it as an integer, it should blow up. But this is curious. We define it as a number, and they give us a decimal when we can't use a decimal. The decimal should be just reserved for that blank, the component you pick that allows decimals. The negative should only be for where you allow negatives. That's interesting. Oh well, I wasn't going to show that today anyway, but I was going to show you that we're not done. There's a lot more error checking we want to put into this to make sure it works. Okay. Now for the project, you can have the rest of the time to work on it. There's a conversion from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Um, here's how you convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. So I want you to write an app that does this conversion here. So you'll read in Fahrenheit into your app. There'll be a button that they'll push, and then it should return in another edit text or text view, your choice. It should return to Celsius. So it's Fahrenheit minus 32 times 5/9.
Are we like able to collaborate?
You can collaborate definitely on this. Every project, if you, I encourage you to collaborate.
Okay.
Now with this, I want error checking.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Now two things to keep in mind. Instead of integer, what are we going to have?
Double.
Double. And 5/9 might not work. If you do 5 divided by 9, it might not work. You might have to put, and I don't remember on this, but you might have to put 5.0 divided by 9. In some languages, 5 divided by 9 is integer division and gives you 0. By putting the 0.0 on there, you make that a double, and so it'll have decimals. So, anyway, I'll go ahead and stop the recording, and you can work on that.